Welcome to the Tourpreneur podcast. Travel industry veteran Shane Whaley will take you on a journey with fellow tourpreneurs, sharing their tips, ideas, insights, and success stories to inspire you to make your tour business the best it can be. And now, here is your host, Shane Whaley.
Hello and welcome to episode 113 of the Tourpreneur podcast. Today we heard from Arival. They made an official statement that they are cancelling their in-person Phoenix event. They wrote to all registered attendees saying that they'd made the challenging and painful decision because the COVID conditions in Arizona, around the country and globally make it impossible to produce an Arival event that will live up to our standards and your expectations, and most importantly, secure everyone's safety. I got on the phone with Bruce Rosard today. Bruce is the COO and co-founder at Arival, to find out a little bit more about the decision and to find out more about Arival 360. And that's a in-destination virtual event and virtual masterclass that they are launching as a replacement. And of course, I asked Bruce, what this decision means for those of us who are registered for Phoenix. Joining us on the line is Bruce Rosard, COO and co-founder at Arival. Bruce, welcome to Tourpreneur. I wish it was under better circumstances. How do you feel today now you've made the official public announcement that the in-person event in Phoenix is canceled?
Well, first of all, Shane, thanks for having me on. We really appreciate it. Mixed emotions for sure. I think many ways relieved that we finally put the announcement out, and we knew this announcement was inevitable for at least a month or more. But we had to make sure we got the communication right. We also had to make sure we had a replacement, a virtual replacement that we feel really good about, and that we feel will be highly beneficial to the industry. So, mixed emotions, relieved that the announcement is now done so we can start focusing on what comes next and working on what we believe will be a successful event for the community of tours, activities, attractions, and experiences.
Absolutely. So before we get into the replacement, which is the Arival 360 event, what does this decision mean for tourpreneurs who are registered for Phoenix?
Sure. And obviously that was a lot of conversation. But number one, if you want a full refund, you get a full refund. We set up in an email that we sent out to all registered attendees that went out today, a 2-question survey that they come back to. A, please send full refund. B, we'll take you up on your incentive plan. And we would credit the payment towards a future live event. And we have this incentive plan to give people some ideas of what they can benefit with if they leave their payment with us.
Right. So as I understand from the email, that's if we go for the credit, that's a ticket to a future in-person event through to 2022, and an unlimited registration ticket for Arival 360, and a free subscription to the, I'm reading off your email here, which I got a couple hours ago, but also a free subscription to the virtual masterclass summit through December 31st, and free access to Arival research reports produced between September 1 and December 31st, 2021.
We're all struggling. Everyone in our business and in the entire travel industry is struggling. And we have done a lot of content for free. We put 35 webinars out there for free. And then we started charging for these virtual events. The first one was mostly free. The one that we're doing right now for Asia Pacific, we are charging and people are paying. This incentive package is basically get free access to everything we're doing between now and the end of 2021, as far as these virtual events, which we will continue to run even if we are able to go live as expected in 2021, or as hoped, I should say, and the research that we produce. So basically everything that Arival publishes and puts out through December 31, 2021 is included in this incentive package.
And just to be clear, so those who registered for Berlin and Bangkok, will they also get access to the Arival 360 virtual event?
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't got the email out to the Berlin and Bangkok folks yet, but they will all get the exact same incentive package.
So my position at Tourpreneur, as you know, I registered for Phoenix, even though you guys are always very generous in giving me a free press pass, media pass. But when I saw it was capped at 400, I thought, well, if you've got 10 press guys in there and the normal price is around 1,000, well, that's, a lot of money that you're losing. And I didn't want that to happen because I want to support you as a business. My perspective right now, and I realize there's a lot of people out there struggling that need the money back, and I get it. My own position is I'm going to go for the credit with you, Bruce, because I want to see you thrive. I want to see you alive in 2021. And I know it's very easy for those of us who consume your content to just think of you as a massive media organization, conference event organization, and think you've got loads of cash when you've had to cancel 3 major events this year. And you're a business as well, and you're struggling. You've got mortgages to pay and food to put on the table and children to clothe. So I'm hoping that our listeners and the industry will opt for a credit to support you going forward.
Well, we appreciate that, Shane, and we hope so as well. And you're right. I mean, we're a small business. We're a very small business. We also went through layoffs like most of your listeners have, and we're doing what we can. And we're doing the best that we can with this.
Yeah, and also you can say you've given 35 webinars. Whether people are fans of those or not, that was still a ton of free content that you were basically giving to the industry. And again, these things, and I know as a content producer myself, there are costs associated with this. None of this is free for you to produce the webinars, and also the time of your team and also of your guests to come on and share your wisdom. So you've been doing a lot of good things to help us. And I noticed that in your goals was always to help tourpreneurs grow their businesses and increase their visibility. And now they are still goals of yours, of course, but you've changed your mission a little bit, where you're trying to help operators navigate this crisis, because this is unprecedented. We're all struggling. We all feel lonely and defeated, and at times thinking of, well, I'm just going to stop this and I'm just going to stack shelves at a supermarket because I don't need the stress. So I definitely see that change in your mission of helping operators navigate the crisis.
Yeah, I don't know if it changes our mission so much as it changes how we accomplish that mission.
Mm-hmm.
In the days of COVID, it's just different. And we want to put out there as much helpful advice as possible, not unlike Tourpreneur. I mean, that is your mission as well, is to help the tourpreneurs be successful, give them access to any resources you know about. So I think our missions are actually pretty well aligned. One difference for Arival is we're working with the whole industry. So it's not just the tourpreneurs, it's the large operators and attractions, it's the distributors and the res tech companies. That makes up the entire community that we're all in together. And we're trying to serve that entire industry, and everyone's hurting. It's not just the small operators, it's everybody.
And you obviously have a lot of global sponsors, the big names out there. How are they reacting? How are they working with you in terms of cancellations?
Well, at this point, we haven't talked to the sponsors about what we just announced today. We wanted to get the announcement out first to anyone who is registered for the Phoenix event. That was priority number 1. Priority number 2 is to let the entire community know what we're doing. And next, I will be in touch directly with every sponsor. To be frank, we didn't have that many sponsors for Phoenix because as of March 1, we stopped all efforts related to Phoenix. There was no advertising out there about Phoenix. We didn't try to sell any sponsorships for Phoenix. So, there's not a lot out there for Phoenix, except for some of our global partners who have agreed to sponsor all of our events with us. And I already spoke to all of them after the Berlin cancellation. So I'm in good touch with all of our sponsors. And I think they'll be backing what we are able to put together for this Arival 360 program.
So you've announced an Arival 360 and you build it as not just another virtual event. How will this one be different?
Yeah, Shane, you were at our first, we called it our beta virtual event. We had almost 2,000 people in there, and it was quite different. When we say not just another virtual event, what we've seen primarily are companies that are taking their live events, making them virtual, really trying to duplicate that by, if it was a 2 or 3 day live event, they're going to do a 2 or 3 day virtual event. First of all, we're not doing that. We are doing events on a day-by-day basis, and I'll explain that in a second. But we don't expect people to sit in front of a computer for 2 or 3 days in a row. So we are going to take this event and extend it over a 2-week period. Secondly, we are using a platform where everyone that comes to the event has their own profile. Everyone has a company profile. So if I see you make a comment, or in Q&A, you ask a really smart question, I can say, well, who's this Shane guy? And I can click on you and see your profile. And right there, I can request a meeting with you. And we can have a video meeting, immediately within the platform. I can go and do a list of, let me see all the attendees and filter them down and request meetings that way as well. So when we create an event, for anyone who's been to our events, they know there's two primary things. Number one is the best content possible for our industry, really putting out thought leaders from throughout the industry. And number two is the networking/business development. And we call it the networking lounge. And that's where a lot of people hang out throughout the event. So we're going to create as much of that networking lounge feeling as we possibly can virtually. And we did hear from a lot of the attendees of the first event that it was really successful. We got some really excellent feedback from that. And then the next thing we're also going to do are what we call roundtables. And roundtables are small, more intimate sessions, 10 to 15 people in kind of a Zoom room. It's not Zoom, it's within our platform. So again, you don't have to leave the platform. And those sessions are hosted by an Arival expert. An Arival expert is a thought leader in the industry, someone who is a specialist in the topic that their roundtable is about. It's not a presentation, it's facilitation of a meeting, because what we've learned in some of this special magic at Arival is one of the best things is operators being able to learn from other operators. That really is what we just got from day one of Arival. And these roundtables are meant to be that. They're meant to be people learning from each other, not being presented to like a workshop. And they've proven to be super successful. And I think that's a big differentiator on what we're going to be doing. But I could go on and on, but I think that's a good synopsis.
I guess because this is going to be a paid event, as much as I enjoyed the beta version, I guess the spamminess of the chat and messages was something I heard a lot about from tourpreneurs who were like, they didn't like that very much. Do you think that because this will be gated almost, that you have to pay to join, will get rid of a lot of that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of learnings from our first event. The two primary learnings, number one was that spam effect. And that spam was really in our chats. So the chats I didn't mention when I was just talking about the event, those are not roundtables. We didn't have any spam in roundtables. That just wouldn't happen, right? Yeah. In the chat, there was a spam factor. And what we now know is every chat that we set up needs to be fully moderated. Yeah. And if someone is spamming, we'll just delete. That's number one. And also, like you said, that event was free and people came in and took advantage of that. And because there was no gate, they came in for free and they were spamming. Everyone I've talked to, as we've tried to figure out the right pricing, et cetera, all agree, just put some kind of price tag on this thing, and that will help to keep the spammers out.
Definitely.
But the other kind of spam, quote unquote, is, can be a sponsor that gets really proactive and puts messaging out to everybody instead of really trying to filter and only get messaging out to the appropriate people that would be interested in their services. That's not much different than a live event. And all we can do to control that is when we hear about it, I'll pick up the phone and talk to the sponsor and say, what are you doing? Like, this is not good for your brand. Mm-hmm. It's not different than a live event. And, when it happens, we'll act on it for sure.
And what's the price going to be on Arival 360, the one you're hosting in October, November?
It's not a straightforward answer because, again, another one of our learnings and what we're really seeing with this Asia Pacific event is it's not a one price fits all. So we've broken out our pricing and really our categorization into three groups. Number one, small operators. We define a small operator as a company that is doing less than $100,000 a year of revenue. And we mean 2019. We don't mean 2020. Yeah. So that's the first category, the least expensive pricing, of course. Next are the medium and large operators. And then finally, the quote unquote other companies, the distributors and res tech companies, marketing agencies that are really there to do business with the operators. And so we're going to charge them more than the operators themselves. All of our pricing does work with promo codes when we establish it. And there's reasons for that, for tracking partnerships and things like that. But after promo codes, a one-day ticket for a small operator is $39. The full 5-day ticket for operators is $99. We also, established this with our small discounts on our live events, small operator discounts, and we'll do the same for the virtual summits. If someone applies, and we'll have an application form, and they're in hibernation, they have zero revenue, we'll make it available for zero. Wow. So if someone needs a free ticket, the hurdle there is fill out the application form.
Yeah.
We'll just do a really quick check of a website to make sure that's for real, and we'll approve free tickets. So really the price is as low as $0, and it goes up from there.
Did you know every weekday Shane curates the most interesting news articles in tours and activities and sends them out in a snappy daily digest? Grab your copy of the Tourpreneur Daily Briefing at www.tourpreneur.com.
I guess one of the challenges you have, I mean, it's how do you replicate that energy of an in-person event? And this isn't just an Arival issue. This is across the board, right? I was on a podcasting event last week. It was a 5-day event, and there was no energy. There was no buzz there whatsoever. And when, I'm a big soccer fan, and when the Bundesliga in Germany, I think they were the first people to start televising games again, and there's no crowd, right? So there's no atmosphere. And I was really shocked at how I didn't enjoy watching the games anymore. I never realized how much I enjoyed listening to the crowd. And even though I don't do politics here, watching the stuff from the DNC, so much of that is virtual. It's so very different from being there or hearing a crowd. And I imagine also for the speakers, because you're not getting that feedback. You've been on the platform, you hear the laughs from the crowd or the gasps sometimes, and not having that feedback. This is a whole new world. What's your views on that, Bruce?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, to be frank, you've been a little bit skeptical even of virtual tours and virtual experiences early on, right? And Airbnb, for one, has been hugely successful with that. So there's models that work and models that don't work. We want to be the best in the world at putting together virtual events. That does not mean that we don't want to come back and be the best in the world at creating live events for our community. That's obviously our plan, and we're just going to sit and wait until we can do that. But in the meanwhile, we're working on creating the best virtual events that we possibly can. Where does the energy come from? It comes from the attendees. And again, the feedback that we got from the first event, where attendees really connected. They connected with each other, whether it was sellers connecting with prospects, and there was quite a bit of that. And they connected with old friends. I heard from a number of people that it was just good to see their old friends in front of them that they hadn't talked to in months, and create that connection. So that is available, and that happens on our platform because of the way the networking is set up. And by the way, because we're running this over 2 weeks, the entire event is available for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge piece of what we're doing, is keeping the platform open, and actually it'll be open for the entire year. So the networking can continue and happen on the platform. But when there's Q&A, you'll know who's asking the questions. When there's chat, you'll know who's doing the chatting. If you want to talk to those people, you can just talk to those people right away. So we're going to pepper conversations. We're going to pepper Q&A, and we're going to try to facilitate getting attendees engaged with each other. We know the roundtables are super engaging, and they create energy. And we'll do our best, but really it's up to the attendees. And what we found is these people all love each other. They love the community, and they'll work on building that energy as we go.
Bruce, thanks for giving us some of your time today to come on the show and explain the decision and what you are doing to create these virtual events. I wish you the very best and all the success with this, because we need Arival to be around next year in 2022 and 2023. I miss coming to your events. I miss having a beer with participants and meeting new connections and learning about new technology and new approaches to growing businesses. So I'm right in your corner here, really willing you on to survive this and to thrive next year.
Well, Shane, thanks a lot. And the same for Tourpreneur. We're all in this together. And everyone out there listening, we're all in this together and trying to do what we can to keep it together while we're waiting for that vaccine, the magic vaccine to come and get us all back to normal again. So thank you very much. My
pleasure. And everyone, you can find details for Arival 360. If you go to arivalevent.com, it's all there. And I will add those links to the show notes at tourpreneur.com/113.
Thanks for listening to the Tourpreneur podcast. Be sure to visit tourpreneur.com to join the conversation and access the show notes, including links to the resources mentioned on today's episode. This is Tourpreneur.